Welcome to Overwatch News. Today is going to be an interesting news cycle. Just to let you know, the memes worked. If you're a fan or a friend of mine on Facebook, you'll see all the Jeffrey Epstein memes, and apparently they worked. This morning, first thing, we find out that one of the nation's leading forensic scientists basically said no. Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy. This computer, come on. Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy more consistent with homicidal strangulation than suicide, Dr. Michael Baden reveals. So all the memes kind of worked. The body of disgraced money man and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, who was found dead in his Manhattan federal prison cell in August, bore telltale signs of homicide despite an official ruling that he killed himself. A pioneering forensic pathologist revealed to Fox and Friends in an exclusive interview Wednesday. If you guys aren't aware, basically, if you haven't seen already, I try and do all these videos and recordings in one take. I don't like editing, and it takes way too much time to edit, and I don't really have time for that. So, anyways, now we go over to Drudge Report. Frustration rises with another round of blackouts. Extreme warning in California. Devil winds, and now a massive fire in Simi Valley. If you're in California, watch out. Be careful. Stay safe. Also, the GDP is 1.9%. Not great. I don't know. There's probably some other signs. I'll dig into that later. But basically, yeah, the GDP is not great. What else do we have? Oh, yeah. So we're starting to see basically the chickens coming home to roost in modern feminism. And what I mean by that is it's taking a toll on men's lives. Two articles this morning. One from Zero Hedge. Slide in life expectancy for American men continues amid spikes in deaths of despair. The National Center for Health Statistics' latest annual report dropped Wednesday morning, and like reports from the last few years, the takeaway from this year's batch of numbers is this: American men are in trouble. Another drop in life expectancy for that demographic has brought the average life expectancy for American men to 76.1 years in 2017. Once they reach age 65, men are projected to live another 18.1 years compared with 20.6 years for women. Now, the reason I bring this up is in this kind of culture where we've got what going on right now, we're forgetting our young men, and we're forgetting men in general. We're so focused on equality, diversity, equity, and inclusion that we're forgetting that, hey, normal men are men too, and guess what? We live on this planet as well, and we need a voice, and we're getting kind of sick of this garbage. And it's not because I'm anti-whatever. It's not that. It's just that I see a lot of my friends committing suicide, especially from the Army. We've had a lot of suicidal deaths since we got back, and it breaks my heart, you know. And I see a lot of guys that are struggling once they get out, and there's not really an answer for them. I know what the answer is. The answer is meaning and purpose, and you have to have meaning and purpose. Without it, you're lost. And so what we're doing is we're failing our young men and our middle-aged men. Everyone, basically men right now, are just... They don't have a place to really go. And basically what's going on right now is we're seeing a lot of alcoholism. We're seeing a lot of drugs. We're seeing an opioid epidemic. Everybody keeps wondering, oh, why is this? It's big farm. It's this, it's that. No, it's men don't have purpose right now. You know, look at Western Kentucky. Look at Tennessee. Look at Pennsylvania. Look at all these states. Industry's gone in a lot of these places. Look at the Rust Belt. You know, if men don't wake up and have a purpose that day, and I see it in my job. Some of the men that work for me, if they don't have something to do that day, they are frustrated. They're like, dude, give me something. I'm like, okay, done. You know, it's not like it was 10 years ago where guys just want to sham out. And there's those guys too. But it really is the case that these guys want something to do. They want meaning and purpose in their lives. They want to be busy. And we got it completely wrong, you know. And, you know, like Karl Marx, he said, well, we're just going to have machines and robots to do everything for us. Men don't want that. I'm telling you right now, you know, and what we've done to the family units is appalling. The divorce rate, how the courts are treating men and treating fathers, it's sickening. It is one of the greatest tragedies that no one's talking about, and it breaks my heart. Anyways, the other article is from Yahoo Finance. It's basically the same thing. U.S. life expectancy gains since 1900 have been large but are now falling, and mainly because of men. Now, you can make the argument, yes, women are more empowered now than they've ever been in the history of life ever, right? And what we're refusing to recognize is this. Life is hard, Okay? At the base, life has always been suffering with breaks of greatness in between. Look at Deadpool. You get a break every once in a while and you're like, oh, this is great. But it has always taken two people to get things somewhat better, right? If you've got a kid crying at the 11th hour and you don't have somebody else there to help you, it sucks. You're up till 2 o'clock in the morning with a colicking baby. Having a spouse, whether it's same sex or not, I don't give a shit. Having a spouse to be able to help you out is everything. Everything. And I'm not blaming women. I'm not blaming them at all. What I'm saying is kind of our establishment has basically said, throw everything to women, screw the men, they'll figure it out, right? They're not. They're not. That's why, like I said, that's why we've got drug and alcohol problems, mental health problems. Maybe we need a different path. Just look at the rates of young women graduating from college versus young men. It's something like, 70% women and 30% men. Think about that. Just ponder that. And the really interesting thing is a lot of women, and we've seen this over and over and over again, they hit 30 and go, oh crap, I need to have children. And they've been sold this lie that careers are everything, that you just need a career and you'll be happy. Sometimes. There's a lot of women that are, once they hit 35, single and alone. Even the lady from Sex and the City that was one of the producers and writers of the show, she says, it was a terrible mistake. Terrible mistake. I should have had kids. I don't want young women to fail. I don't want young men to fail. We're all on the same planet. We're all in the same boat. And I think we need to do a better job of promoting the family unit. And we know this developmentally as well. You need, psychologically speaking, you need a female figure and a male figure, right? You need both. You can't, a child can grow up okay, but if you want the best chance, have them socialize properly with rough and tumble play from the father figure. Have them socialize properly with other, why are you giving me a Halloween? Sorry, the computer just gave me a Halloween notification. Yeah, duh. But you need the father figure, you need the male figure and female figure, because you need the rough and tumble play, but you also need the compassionate mother figure, right? You can get away with it, but I'm telling you, you need both. You really need both. And what we've done with this whole single mom epidemic and single dad epidemic, and just what the courts are doing. I know like 8 friends of mine that their spouses just said, I need to focus on my career. F you. I'm going to do what I want, and I'm going to go play the field of schlongs. And I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes here. You were a happy family. The guys have done nothing wrong. They work hard. They go to work every day to support the family, and they're great men. And all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but the spouse just said, I'm done. I'm going to focus on my career. F you, and I want to go be single and party. Or I'm just going to, just focus on my career. You can take care of the kids and F your career, even though you're about ready for a promotion, right? And I'm like, I don't understand this. And then if, God forbid, they end up getting a divorce in any one of these situations, the custody battles are nightmares. 3 different times in a county in Colorado, women have been violently assaulted, broken bones of their male spouse. And I mean, guys are bruised so bad that their faces are just black and blue, and they'll get a restraining order and file a domestic violence charge. Here's the problem. This particular county has dropped all restraining orders and domestic violence charges against these women. Think about that. If that was a male, he's going to prison. Period. They'll come in, take all of his guns, they'll arrest him, and his life's over. He'll lose custody, all of it. But for some reason, if it's a woman, all charges dropped and everything's fine, right? Everything's copacetic because obviously, and even Joe Rogan said, well, we just basically tell the men, dude, buck up, just stop crying like a little, that's not right. Is it right? No, it's not right, right? We all kind of agree that we don't hit, you learn this in kindergarten. Don't hit Johnny, don't hit Sally, and I'm telling you, there's a tide turning. I don't think men are going to put up with this much longer. It's so bad right now. You can't keep breaking these fathers' hearts and expect them to just lay down and take it. Their tide is turning. Like that 14-year-old girl that was just arrested. She assaulted a guy, just waylaid him because he had a Trump hat. Is that right? No, it's not right. Anyways, moving on. I forgot to talk about this in the military segment I did yesterday. Actually, let's go through the Drudge Report headline, Zero Hedge headlines right quick. We already talked about the one. Now here's one. For the second consecutive quarter, this is what Americans spent the most money on. And the commentator says, sorry, but this makes no sense. Basically, Americans have spent more money, over the past couple of years on recreational vehicles than anything else. Here's the picture they're missing, okay? We talked about the whole migrant thing and how housing prices are increasing and you can't find housing units. And even though they're overbuilding right now, they're still either too expensive or young people just can't. They can't live in the cities anymore, especially veterans, man. We're sick of seeing this garbage. These garbage humans that are just mean to each other. We're sick of seeing it, and we're sick of the divisiveness, and so we're all moving. To We're all getting out of the cities, especially veterans. Like I said, I just had a buddy email me last night. Hey, man, we are sick of living in the city. We're gonna do what you guys did, hook up in an RV and take off. It's all for it, brother. So that's what's happening, and especially in California, Colorado, New York, some of these places where housing is just outrageous. Guys and gals and families are hooking up in RVs, and if you work in the oil field, you got to go from Minot, North Dakota to West Texas or Colorado down to West Texas or wherever, and you don't have a house. What are you going to do? You're going to buy an RV. You're going to go get a truck. You're going to go find an RV park that's decently priced, and for $700 or $500 to $1,000 a month, you can live in a beautiful RV. You'll be good for the winter, good for the summer. They got 2 air conditioning units. You've got sinks, you've got baths, you've got showers, and they're checking out of the system. They're sick of paying property taxes. They're sick of this garbage, right? And it all depends on location. Like I said, when industry is dead, you get places that are $9 an hour minimum wage. That's why all the lefties want to fight for the minimum wage. They don't understand economics, right? Industry is dead in these areas, and nobody can understand why nobody's making any money. Take the western slope of Colorado. The only real industry they've got is oil and gas and cattle ranching, right? And then hunting and fishing and stuff like that. But that's seasonal, right? So you can't pay the same wages over there that you can over here. Like right over here, we're like McDonald's is starting at $13 an hour. Walmart's $13 an hour, and they can't find anybody to work. Why? Because the wages are way better over here because there's money in industry and data and tech, and it's all yada, 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 yada. You look at, like I said, places like West Texas, or you look at North Dakota. They can't pay anybody less than $18 an hour because nobody's going to work. They're going to go to the oil field and make, $100,000 a year. You have to look at, it's economies of scale, but you also got to, you have to understand all these different things. That's why when Trump said, look, we're going to bring back jobs, young men are like, dude, yes, I can work. I can make lots of money, and I can have a family, and I can have a life, and I can start a business, and everything's going to be way better. Guess what? It's way better. And it's continually getting better. When you outsource all these industries to other countries, that's what you do. You kill the American soul. You kill men's search for meaning and purpose in their lives and responsibility. Turns out what young men want is responsibility. And I don't know why, but especially all the intellectuals, all the lefties, all the master's degrees, they don't understand it. Because they can't empathize. See, that's the interesting thing. Like I've said, fast thinking versus slow thinking. They can empathize all day long about a child in Africa. But Billy Joe Bob down the street that works in a coal mine, F him because he's not environmentally conscious. No, buddy. He wants a job. He wants responsibility. He wants an identity. He wants meaning in his life. You can't get that through your head because you can't empathize outside of a book or unless it's a literal poor me victimhood garbage, right? But see, Billy Joe Bob, that works in the coal mine, can empathize as well. But also says, look, I know the answer, man. Go to work. Go. In the words of Jordan Peterson, young men are finding out, well, hell, as useless as I am, at least I can move that from here to there. And all of a sudden their lives are way better for it, right? Mine was. Yeah, I was struggling with PTSD. I was struggling with alcoholism years ago. And I found out, if you have meaning in your life, especially when my son was born, guess what? Everything is way better, right? Everything. And young women too. Once they find out having a family is the greatest thing in the world, all of a sudden their life changes. There's a lot of guys that talked about young women they knew in corporate business, and it's, they say, I'm just going to focus on my career. And then once again, about 30, that maternity bomb kicks off, and And all of a sudden they have kids and they realize, oh my God, this is the greatest thing. And then they say, I'm going to go become a housewife because this is awesome. I love this. I want, and my wife's talked about it. You have like this nesting feeling. Once you hit that button or once that clock starts ticking, you feel like you want a nest or a home. I don't know. I'm not a female. I can't really talk about this. I can only talk about my anecdotal experiences and stuff like that. I'm sure there's scientific literature on it, but it's not popular through academics, so they're not going to do the studies because they want to prove, oh, look, you can be just fine as a career woman. You'll be just fine. I think there's a term crazy cat lady for a reason. I'm not saying that all people can't do it. What I'm saying is understand that that's what's happening. We're starting to see this. All right, so let's move on. We've talked about those headlines. This is interesting. Speaking of Epstein again. Guerrilla journalists sneak onto Jeffrey Epstein's pedo island. A group of guerrilla journalists from We Are Change snuck onto the island, Little St. James, where they recorded the island's features in high definition. There's Medusa. There's like satanic little demon statues. There's this temple that, or I don't know what it is, building that looks supposed to look like maybe an Israeli temple. Everything's been raided, obviously. And, I guess that's it. All right, never mind. All right, on the disaster map, it looks like everything's pretty good except for those California wildfires we talked about. Like I said, stay safe. They still got the tornadoes up from Dallas. Oh, here's maybe one new one. No, that's old. That's the Legionnaire bacteria. And on our weather forecast, so this is interesting. Our snow kicked off again, and it's supposed to be gone. So here's that storm system moving out through the Great Plains and Southeast. Remember I told you, it's going to be coming. So let's hit play and see what she does. Like I said, that tropical system pushed up through, and now it's heading to, actually it's going to go to the northeast as well. Great Lakes region is going to get some snow. Here in Texas, rain. And then, like I said, it's going to be moving to the southeast, but it looks like it's not going to be near as bad as it was. Now, guys, remember, this is a weather forecasting model. Weather does change, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it looks like there's another system moving in again. Also, it was -2 here last night. I think it's one of the cold records for Colorado in October. Okay, this video I think is getting a little long. I don't have a timer on it. All right, so this other guy, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. I think I despise him as a human being. I'll also preface this by saying not every soldier is a hero, not every teacher is a hero, not every cop's a hero. Every person is an individual, and their individual actions and choices make them a hero or a turd. It just depends on a case-by-case basis. This guy right here is a Ukrainian immigrant. Now, if you're not familiar with Ukraine, it's split. You've got pro-Ukraine, you've got pro-Russia. This guy is supposed to be the top expert on Ukraine, but he's also been the ambassador, diplomat, something or other for embassies in Ukraine and Russia. So we've talked about how the Democrats, basically what they did in Ukraine is exactly what they're accusing Trump of doing. Well, here comes this whistleblower. Oh, I just don't think what Trump did was right, blah, 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 blah. Guy, you were in the military. No, stop. Full stop. You have a clearance, buddy. What you're doing, and I don't want to defend Trump here, but we saw the transcripts. He didn't do anything wrong. He never did the quid pro quo. He never did any of that, right? This guy is a Ukrainian-born immigrant that served in the military. Yeah, he did some good stuff. He did some good stuff in Iraq, and he was wounded. More power to you, brother. But if what you're trying to do is throw somebody under the bus because you think, opinion, not fact. Remember, we don't feel. We don't do our policy based on feelings. We do it based on fact. And if that's what this guy's trying to do, is based on feelings, and he's just trying to throw him under the bus because he's a Democrat or whatever, and not doing it based purely on facts and objective, unbiased opinions, or not, I guess not opinions, unbiased, like I said, facts of what actually transpired in the call, dude, that's treason, bud. So I don't like it. It stinks. This stinks to me. This whole thing stinks. And I think it's going to come out that this guy is not good. I'm not going to say I don't know him personally, but it just, from the way it feels and looks, and from all the stuff I've read about it, and of course they're trying to spin this. Washington Post is saying, testifies on Trump's administration. No, that wasn't it. But NPR was like, what was it, NPR? I can't, hang on. Oh yeah, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander is the classic Fox News patriot. Yeah, okay. And so is Chelsea Manning. You're going to call it the classic Fox News patriot? She? No, I don't think so. She's running for the Democratic Party, and same thing with Tulsi Gabbard. Not a Fox News patriot at all. Yes, maybe they served in the military. There's a lot of people that served in the military that did not have the values that America holds and represents. They might have some of them, yeah, but like I said, you can't. When you talk about universal health care, you obviously don't understand how that works. You're basically saying, I want to give free health care to people that are not citizens of this country, come here illegally, and a lot, or not a lot, 20, 30% of them commit heinous crimes. We want to give them everything in free welfare and free health care. So what I'm going to do when I become president is I'm going to put a gun to the head of every single taxpayer if they don't pay for all of these migrants, all the universal health care. Because what is that? What the IRS? What is it? What is it? Taxes. You are putting a gun to the head of every single taxpayer and saying, if you don't pay taxes to help these migrants, we're going to come under threat of violence up to and including death through the end of a barrel in order for you to pay for all this. Is that right? No, it's not right, is it? That's why I say with Tulsi Gabbard, with a lot of these people, the Democratic Party's lost. If you start talking about stuff like this, remember, any legislation you do, any law you pass, you must ask, is this worth killing for? Because that's exactly what can happen. Because then you say, oh, you're just taking it over the top. Am I? If you don't pay your taxes, what are they going to do? They're going to come to your door. Men with guns are going to come to your door if you resist arrest, up to and including death. That's what this is. And if you've never heard that before, that's what all taxes are. And yes, if you pay your taxes and be an upstanding citizen, that's fine. But at what point do you say, no, I can't live if you tax me 80%, 60%. We're already tax on tax on tax on tax, right? So, like I said, I know this video is running a little long, but there's just a couple things I wanted to go through. But like I said, I can't get behind Tulsi. I just can't. Like I said, and that's why I have a lot of problems with a lot of leftist policies, because no, you're not putting a gun to my head to pay for some of that stuff. You just ain't doing it. That's not right. That's not who we are as Americans. That's like gun confiscation. Come on. We're not going to put up with that. This entire country is based on a revolution and the idea that we can govern ourselves. And that, at the foundation, fundamentally, all men are with error. Period. Leave us alone. All right, and with that, we'll catch you next time. This is Chaos Actual. Thanks for tuning in.